The analogy I give is, don't spit in the well water because you're going to be drinking from it for a while. Always ask for more. Attend these conferences, even if you can't sponsor. Wear your brand t-shirt. Customer demand really trumps everything else, and it can be a really powerful tool. Strike up conversations with everyone, smile at everyone. You can build a lot of leads here.
Welcome to Winning Wednesdays with Pear VC, where the early stage founder community gathers to learn real go-to-market tactics and level up their game. Each week, we share fast, tactical insights to help you win your first customers, close bigger deals, and grow smarter. Whether it's discovery fundamentals, upselling, partner selling, or gritty stories from founders who've been in your shoes, this is your midweek shot of momentum. Let's win together.
Today, I am thrilled to have Molly Rose with us, who's going to talk all things partnership sales. Molly has a strong background in business development and partnerships with experience at Checkr, Postmates, Coda, which was acquired by Grammarly, and Box. Molly has held various leadership positions at these companies, including senior director and director, focusing on product partnerships, which drive meaningful revenue. Molly's experience lies in building and leading teams to drive growth and establish these strategic partnerships in tech. Molly holds an MBA from Wharton and a BA in Sociology from Trinity College-Hartford. Molly, it's such a joy to have you here. I have mentioned this as we were preparing to join the call, but there's so much excitement and enthusiasm and energy around this topic that without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much. I am going to share my screen. All right, cool. This is also my first time presenting with Gamma, so simplify your life. Find AI tools to build your decks faster for you. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much to the team at Pear for having me. I was reading the questions that people shared upon registration yesterday, and it's so energizing. I love talking about partnerships. There's also quite a bit to talk about. So we won't cover everything today. Reach out. Anna can connect us if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about where you are, your product. But I wanted to give a high-level overview. I wanted to give you insights into revenue share negotiation, how to think about partnerships. If you walk away with one helpful insight from this presentation, it's time well spent. And then I do want to stop talking fairly quickly so we can actually go to Q&A, because I'm really excited to dig in and speak with all of you and answer your questions. So I'll be talking about building strategic partnerships. Partners can really help you build awareness, bring prospects, drive revenue, and retain customers. Very rarely does a single partner do all of that for you. And I'm really going to talk about partners that are a bit more present. As you can tell by my background, I am really passionate about product partnerships. So typically thinking about an integration where a customer, be it a business or a consumer or an end user, can get value by having your technology, your tool connected in with another tool or vice versa. So that's just, that's the lens I come at this with. There are many other lenses. I've also and continue to work with reseller partners and things like that. But I am going to talk about partners who are more present, who are bringing more to the table today, where you may be actually negotiating. You may find that you need a partnership, specifically an integration, though, to check a box. Your customer needs an integration for your product to add value, and it's a must-have. Examples from previous slides are like a Salesforce integration. If you just need it, you may just need to go with it. That's a different type of partnership sometimes, and we can talk about that. Those will probably have very standard terms, very low touch from the partner, and a pretty low investment from you, potentially outside of building the integration. Again, you're checking the box so that when you're speaking to a prospect and they say, must integrate into my tech stack, you're saying yes. I also sort of want to caveat, I am personally very wary of marketplaces that are simply referrals. So a tile that just has your logo, customer can click and fill out a contact me form. Companies will promise you the world about these marketplaces. Oh, highly trafficked, so amazing. It can be good from an awareness perspective, but you're not really adding value for that customer. And so I just want to think about that customer journey when I think about partnerships personally. You can put a tile on a marketplace. I wouldn't put your full bet on that. Okay, cool. So I wanted to talk about some partnership fundamentals before we talk about negotiation. Again, we've been talking about doing this session for a couple of months, and negotiation and what to ask for and how to think about it was the primary focus. But I think there's some fundamentals that we want to get squared away with before we do that. The first question is, does your partner have your ICP? Partners can be really helpful. ICP, ideal customer profile. Partners can be really helpful in expanding your ICP and even testing new ICPs in a lower cost way. But I just want to share, like, you can negotiate the best deal on the planet, but if you don't acquire any of your partner's customers, is it really worth it? Make sure that you have some level of fit. Partnerships, though, can be really successful in testing and can also give you some experience in moving up market, for example. Um, I would just also be aware of, are you able to support those new customers? So, for example, if you move up market, you acquire a customer who requires professional services, and you've been PLG, how do you want to think about that? You can get caught in a trap where you start investing a lot in this new unproven ICP, putting a lot of resources in. Sometimes that's the right bet, but sometimes it's not. So it's something to just think about up front. The other fundamental is that partnerships are long-term relationships. I've been the big fish and the little fish in a lot of conversations throughout my professional career. The world is a small, flat world. It gets smaller and flatter every day with technology innovation. You will work with these folks again. In the course of a partnership, you certainly will, and they'll probably just end up somewhere else once they leave the place they are. I think that's what makes partnerships really fun, but I say that to caution you around, coming from a place of respect and coming from a place of sort of reality. I give the example of occasionally I will speak to founders who don't have a launched product yet and who don't have a customer yet, and they will be arguing with me about the amount of rev share they want to get from me. And I'm like, you don't even have a customer to refer me. So I think just, think about that. The analogy that I give to folks, especially when building these relationships, is, if you're great to work with, people will want to continue to work with you. They'll want to find opportunities to actually highlight your business. Many companies want to look for ways to highlight up and coming or innovative products. So be easy to work with. The flip side is, don't be difficult. The analogy I give is, don't spit in the well water because you're going to be drinking from it for a while. So you want to say good. I also am guilty of doing a lot of analogies. I think that's the female equivalent to dad jokes. So apologies in advance. You're going to get a lot of them during this presentation. I also think you want to make sure that you've resourced properly to support partnerships. It really does go beyond the contract and the initial build. Partners typically push code changes. They may expand their product. You want to be able to innovate with them, especially if they are typically doing launches or other marketing that can help you acquire customers in real time. Being there with them on innovation will help you get more eyeballs. It will also help you in the partnership. But as you think about that resourcing, if you're so if you can't turn back and look at it ever again, just think about what you might be leaving on the table. And again, also resourcing to support your partner's customers. We'll talk about this more sort of in the sales-led growth portion, but if you do not treat your partner's customers well, that will get back to them. They will be sharing that feedback with you, and they will not be referring customers to you. That sort of service can really make a huge difference. And sometimes service just means being responsive, making them feel heard, even if things break. All right. So I want to talk about revenue share. And again, these are Gamma slides. They're very simple. I have a lot to say. But you want to think about how revenue share fits into the bigger picture with your partners. As you're beginning the negotiation, as you're thinking about this, you want to know what motivates your partner. I think people are sometimes afraid to ask questions. I'm a big fan of asking people really directly, why do you partner? What's the value? What are the metrics that you use to evaluate the success of your partnerships at your company? Ask those questions straight up and capture that information, and ask it a few times too. But understanding why your partner is at the table can really help you build something that's going to be successful. Sometimes we see partners that are motivated by revenue streams, product experience, expansion, or something else. Um, Oftentimes, they will have many different metrics. Revenue share should be a small portion of how they make money. So they may not even care about the revenue share, but they might really care about customer referrals that you could potentially send them. They may also care about connectivity, time spent in app, other metrics. So learn about that so you can better pitch yourself to those partners. I would also understand, do they have an established partner program? Are your competitors already partnered here? What are they, how are they partnering? Get to know that, understand what you could get more of or less of. Are your partners doing well in this ecosystem? Or I'm sorry, are your competitors doing well in this partner's ecosystem too? Um, and then how's your partner monetizing? Um, this this is a weird question. I'll give an anecdote from my time at Postmates. We had a product partnership where we we grinded in the negotiation. We took rev share so low, and it got accepted, and we were like, "Yeah, we fucking won." The challenge was the partner, to recoup what they lost, created a secondary charge to customers that used us that we could not see. And it took a lot of testing, a lot of iteration to actually sort of discover that there was a second point of friction that was marking up our price to our customers and hurting our overall volume. So most people aren't that shady, but figure out, are there implementation fees? There are more established marketplaces that charge customer implementation fees. I think that creates a lot of friction. You do not want friction early on when it comes for adoption. Think about if the partner's saying, well, we use that implementation fee to monetize, that's actually how we make money. You may want to negotiate in and say, we'll pay that, or we'll give you more rev share, so you waive it, or would you please waive it, for an introductory period? And I think you can just say, like, we don't want the friction. So think about that. And then revenue alignment. At Checkr and at Postmates, actually, we were consumption-based products. And so we were pay-go. We couldn't forecast to a partner how much revenue they would see from us with a given customer. It was just about their consumption. So if you have a partner that has a really established program, and what they want you to do is potentially register the ACV, the ARR of that customer in advance, and they're going to charge you off of that, you could wind up saying, this is $1 million customer, never seeing a dime from the customer, but reporting that to the partner and then have them charge you rev share, which would not be pretty. So see what the sort of models are. Are they on a subscription base? Are you on a consumption base? Make sure that you sort of understood both sides and shared that with the partner. Again, don't be afraid to tell people to ask questions, but it's something to think about. All right, so preparing and negotiating for revenue share. I'm a big fan of doing research. You are part of the Pear network, and you're probably a part of a lot of other networks too. Ask people. Just like the way they talk about, don't hide your salary. People make more if they talk to each other. People do better if they talk sometimes about rev share, or what they're getting from a partner. So understand the general percentage that the partner may be asking. Understand if there's flexibility too. Sometimes it's a really hard line. And find out if it's perpetual payment, a short-term payment, or something else. Partnerships are bets. I'm a big fan, just to take a step back, of the ability to terminate partnerships. If stuff's not working, you need to get out. But so you could get out of a perpetual payment, but you should know about that up front, and be prepared for it. You also need to do some analysis, which goes to how you're going to pay the partner. And this may be a little aggressive for a super early company, but what are your unit economics? And what does it mean to be giving revenue share? How does that impact it? For a lot of companies, giving revenue share, even a good revenue share to a partner, is cheaper than standing up a big sales team and doing a huge investment in marketing and other top of funnel awareness building that you can basically draft off the partner for. It can work out, but you want to think about that. Also think about the way your sales cycle goes. If there's a lot of high touch with a customer sort of post sign up, that's great. but you may be investing the same amount of resources or your most expensive resource in that customer, regardless of how you acquire them. And you just sort of want to make sure that the math works out. I'm sure if you've taken money from Pear, they will also want to make sure that you are making smart deals too. And anybody should. You also want to understand the ideal partner and customer experience in the partner's platform before you go in to negotiate. So sign up for an account with the partner. Click around. Most people have demos online. Watch some videos. Look at G2 ratings, whatever it is. Get a good understand where their customers spend time so you can understand where you can get the most eyeballs and the most value. You can also understand if a customer says, hey, we want to put you in this module, and you know that nobody uses that module, it's probably not ideal. So the more educated you are, the more analysis you've done, the easier these things will be, and the better you'll be at sort of asking for what will drive you value. All right. So revenue share negotiation and tactics. Again, there are times where you can't negotiate. That will happen. There will be other times that you can. I'm a big fan of creating growth incentives with a partner. So I will pay you more as the growth increases. Having that incentive with a partner and really aligning on OKRs can help you push them in a way that isn't aggressive, but is really in good partnership. Send me more customers because I'm going to be sending you more money because we're going to grow together. And making sure they're aligned to that by having a revenue share clause that encompasses that growth can be really powerful. Ensure you're only paying on customers for which you're gaining real revenue. I'm not a huge fan of paying for leads. If you are, it should be a small one-time cost. And again, you should know what your general customer acquisition costs are, so you can be coming in a little bit under that. And then make sure that you're not paying for existing customers who connect. This is a big one. You may have to in some instances, but if you can put in language that says you're only paying for a customer acquired via the partner or via the integration, you will save yourself some good money there. So then, yeah, lock in your contractual commitments. There was a question that I saw before the presentation around non-competes in contracts. I think that's tough. The spirit might be interesting, but your partner may be partnering with other companies. It may not make sense for them to hitch their cart to one horse. However, if you can be exclusive, if you can be a preferred partner, that's always awesome. It also depends on what type of product you're offering. If it's a zero-sum game, try it. Try for exclusivity for sure. Also, you should have an NDA with these partners as you're beginning to negotiate. And then have some standard terms in the contract that will ensure that there's confidential information that's not shared. So specifically, if you have a concern around the customer potentially referring the partners referring your customer to a competitor, that should be covered in your contract. All right. So what else should you ask for? The revenue share, I think, is where a lot of people ask questions. They think it's the hardest part, the biggest negotiation. Math is scary for some people. But that's actually not where you're going to get the value. The value is going to be in the go-to-market access that you get from the contract. And I've found that because people think so much just about the money, when you ask for more that's go-to-market activity, people are actually quite generous, especially if you're saying yes to the revenue share. So what visibility can you get from the partner? Think about, again, exclusivity or preferred status, a badge being served in product above the fold marketplace placement. Also understand, again, you should have done research. You should know if customers go to that marketplace, if it's valuable real estate. And then think about in-product messaging. So Pendo messages, messages tied to different activity that the user may take in the platform, prompting them to use your tool too, can drive really great success. And then customer access. Are you acquiring new customers that are signing up for your partner's tool? Are you going to be able to acquire existing customers? Do you have a path to touch both of those bases? And then I'd also think about case studies as well, specifically getting a joint customer case study that the partner can use and disseminate and that you can use too. My assumption here is if you're early on enough, these partners are lending a level of credibility to you that's going to help you, even if you're using that case study with customers who aren't necessarily going to use the partner's platform as well. I would also think about how you can make, and depending on what your product is, how can you make your partner your customer? See if you can throw that into the contract. At least let us pitch you. Give us a chance. This is a great way to acquire a new customer. There is also no better way to market to a partner's customer base than by sharing that the partner themselves is using your tool, your product. So I think that's really strong. There's a good network effect there, and it's a great, easy thing to ask for. If there is sales support, so this is a little bit more on the SLG side, but it can really be anywhere. You'll want to think about quota relief for reps, commission sharing, and marketing development funds, MDF. So can you give me essentially a credit to come to your events and to do other things? One anecdote I'll share is during my time at Box, we partnered with Okta. This was 2012. Box was the big fish. Okta was the little fish. I think if we look at market caps today, the roles might be a bit reversed. But in 2012, we were providing Okta with about 20% of their ARR within 1 year. And that was because we had bidirectional quota relief and commission sharing. I believe we shared, I think it was like 10% revenue share on an annual contract. And of that 10% that we shared to Okta, their rep got 10% of that, and vice versa. So you've never seen reps more engaged in wanting to share business back and forth because they could really quantify the value of it. And it's a really powerful accelerant, again, if you're working with sales teams. All right. So then building your go-to-market plan. I'm a big fan, if you can, of actually building a little 4-quarter calendar into your contract, put quantifiable metrics in there, create a plan. You don't want everyone to sign and then walk away. Many teams are structured, so they have one team on the contract and one team on the post-contract execution. And if there isn't a bridge there, you could just sort of fall off a cliff. I would make sure you have an expectation of regular check-ins and at least quarterly reviews. Again, if you have no customers yet and you're partnering with Salesforce, they're going to laugh at you if you ask for this. That's okay. So I think it's, understand the context. Ask for a POC. Today, Checkr has over 100,000 customers. We are a very large company, and we even have some partners where we cannot get a point of contact. It's really tough. We can't get anyone on the phone. It is important to get some contacts up front. You are speaking to someone when you're getting a contract, so ask them who you can reach out to for support. And then think about ongoing support for that partnership. Make sure that you've built towards it, you're checking in on it, and you're good to go. All right, I'm going to keep talking faster because I want to leave time for questions. I'm so sorry. All right, sales-led growth tactics. For some of you, you are selling products where the partner uses a sales-led model. Even if you are a PLG product, that's great. If you're plugging into an SLG product, you'll want to understand how that works too. So a couple of things to think about here. Does the partner do events? Do they have customer conferences? Do they go to events? Again, in the spirit of asking for more, especially when I've been a smaller company, I'll say, hey, we can't afford to sponsor this, but what if I chipped in a little bit and you let me stand in your booth? Or you put my demo on your demo screens too? Or you connected me? Or let me come to a dinner or a happy hour that you're hosting at the event. Always ask for more. Attend these conferences, even if you can't sponsor. Wear your brand t-shirt. Strike up conversations with everyone, smile at everyone. You can build a lot of leads here. If you're working with sales folks, you also need to do sales enablement. So training customer-facing teams, understand how they're implementing your product and where your product might connect in the customer journey. So perhaps you're really connected post-sale. It may be an implementation team. It could be an SE team, or it could be through their VARs or SIs. So understand what that ecosystem looks like and then start trying to plug in there. Champion recognition. Track who is sending you business and thank them. It can be swag, it can be Starbucks gift cards. People like feeling recognized. It's also a way for you to send updates to people who are promoters of your business. Usually, if I go enable a sales team, I only see a few that really pick it up and sell it. But if a few pick it up and sell it really well, that can really impact your business. A really good salesperson who you also build rapport with could come over to your business at some point too. So in a non-sketchy way, that is a recruiting tactic too, if you see someone who's kicking ass and selling. And then build trust. So if a sales rep is referring a customer to you, you need to make sure that they're not looking bad to that customer. That means pick up the referral when they send it to you, reply with an email. You can use a template, you can use a bot, but just make sure you touch quickly or be willing to pick up the phone. If you break that trust, if you don't sort of respond after that intro is made, the AEs will stop sending customers your way because you're making them look bad. All right. So you may be sitting here and you may be thinking like, I don't have that much money. I don't have that many customers. How can I add value? You can add value for a partner. You can help them. I look at companies like Workday. What they value in partners are partners who help them enter new markets, enter new capabilities, or extend their functionality into a vertical that they weren't previously serving well. So make sure that you understand how you can add that value to a partner. Also, make sure you're meeting customer demands. If a customer is asking for functionality, that is huge. Go look on review sites, go into user groups, figure it out. If you do have an existing customer of a partner, ask the customer to go to their account manager or to put in a note asking for an integration with you. Customer demand really trumps everything else, and it can be a really powerful tool. It also starts small. Here I am as a lifelong BD person and telling you don't necessarily need a dedicated BD person early on. You can do this with product and marketing. You can really hack and get there in a lot of ways. I'd also focus your efforts. Target natural accelerants in your customer tech stack. Don't go, sure. There are a lot of people using Instagram. If you are a B2B tool, like, I don't know that you want to target Instagram. Make sure it's natural. Where's the tech stack? Be thoughtful about that. And you can do a lot. Place bets. If you place too many, it will be hard to really make an investment and have good metrics so you can see after a year, is this good or not? For bigger customers, it will take a little bit longer for you to see the ROI. For PLG products, you should see it pretty fast. And within a year, you should know if you see a pathway to success. Make sure that you have contracts that let you out after a year if you need to, or that you can sort of abandon and leave. So that is the end of my presentation. I would love to answer any questions. Hopefully I haven't confused you, but I will stop sharing.
Molly, that was incredible. I think you really struck the balance of comprehensive and have also left, I feel like, so much to double click on. So thank you. Thank you for that overview of partnership selling and pulling from all of your experience. So audience, I'm very eager to hear your questions. We want to prioritize questions that are from people who are here live. I also have a number of questions that, again, were submitted beforehand from registrants and also that I've just jotted down as I was listening. So maybe I can get started while people are warming up their questions. You mentioned resources and this idea of being the small fish and the big fish. Most of our companies, being that we're early stage investors, are going to be the small fish, right, in these negotiations, and also are going to be strapped for resources. And many times when they're trying to activate a partnership strategy, it's experimental, right? They don't know if it's going to work. And so it's sort of this balance of I need to keep these other motions going and my outbound and all the things. What's your best advice for an early stage founder who just is I want to dip my toe into partnership selling and not do it poorly? Do all the things that you're saying, tracking the metrics, engaging the relationship, leaning in, but also not, again, over-indexing and knowing that it's experimental. I think just any advice that you have for just navigating it in a way that's meaningful while, these teams are super resource strapped?
I wouldn't peanut butter spread. I would just take a beat and figure out which partner could be most impactful for you. If you can only make one bet at a time, really think about that and look for a partner that's really going to offer the support that you need. Depending on what that support is, it could be top of funnel, it could be closing. Look at what's happening in your direct customer acquisition flow and figure out where the gaps are. Is it that people don't know who you are? Is it that you don't have credibility? Is it that you're missing functionality? And what are your competitors doing too? If all of your competitors, and they're true competitors, I know we all want to say that we're unique and nobody's, we're differentiated, but there will be cases. I'm at a background check company, right? If they're all partnered somewhere, perhaps that could be valuable. But I would also look at who that partner's competitor is too. If there's somebody else who's emerging in that space who hasn't gotten as much attention, but who could be adding the same value for you, but do so in an easier way, do that. The other thing I'd say is you'll need a little bit of collateral. You'll need a little bit of joint value prop. AI is your friend here. You can do those things very quickly. You can always iterate and improve on materials as time goes by once you see that people are leveraging it.
Yeah, super helpful. Cynthia, thanks for your question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Molly. I'm curious, especially as a non-experienced BD person, what are red flags to look for in a partnership? Like, what are signals that maybe it's time to walk away? Maybe you're getting, not taken advantage of.
Yeah, I think if something doesn't trust your gut, I think that I use a lot of analogies around like long-term relationships. A partnership can be a really good marriage. And if somebody is lying to you while you're dating, they're going to lie to you while you're married. So if you're getting weird signal up front, if you are getting back and forth up front, it may be time to step away. I would also, if you're getting a weird signal, but you think this is a partner you need, reach out to their other partners, build a network in their partner ecosystem and find out, is this just par for the course? I think that's something I love most about partnerships is I talk to my partners at Checkr about other partners and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy doesn't answer anybody's calls or emails. Like sometimes it's just how it is, but do a little bit of fact finding. But yeah, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. As an early founder too, if something doesn't make sense or might not work, I want to encourage you to be open-minded as time goes on. Your partner will change and mature, your product will change and mature. And so if it's not right now, it could be right later. But yeah, trust your gut.
Great question. Okay, I saw a hand in the Goat Rodeo room, our viewing party.
Hi, Molly. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Yvonne. I'm curious how you recommend getting in touch with possible partners. Like, how do you want to be approached? What do we say so that you respond, especially given we're, small, early?
Most partnership people are supposed to be acquiring partners. So they're not there to ignore you. There are a couple of ways. There's, it's pretty standard looking on LinkedIn, reaching out to people with partnership BD titles. I'm also a big fan of pinging people that are tangential too. So marketing, products, people that you might think will care about your product. If you have a shared customer, also ask the customer for an introduction to someone. Ask the customer to facilitate a call as sort of a product request. You may not get the right person right away, but it'll help you start mapping out and mapping in. Also, most companies have a partnership page and they have like an info at partner.com. People do read and monitor those. The worst thing that can happen to me as a partnership person is I miss an inbound from an interesting company and they get in touch with my CEO and he pings me and says, what happened? So people are looking. I would also leverage the Pear network. I would also leverage other people for introductions for leaders at those companies too, because they can gently guide you to the right person.
While we've got the mic, I've got another question in the room. Uh, do you have experience with design partnerships? We're very early stage, as everyone else here is, and we're thinking through, frankly, the benefit of partnering with, in our case, with the universities. So they can help us get students to test our product and get feedback and whatnot. We're benefiting from this more than they are at this point. When do we start to think about revenue? At this point, it feels like we would be charging them for them to help us develop our product. And I don't quite know when that balance tips to where we should actually be asking them to pay for something.
I think you can, I love that question. I was at Coda when we were still in stealth, and this was a challenge we had also with early customers. We were giving it away for free because we wanted to see value, prove adoption. And then it was really hard for us to say, oh, wait a minute, we're going to start charging you now. So if you can build a model of like, hey, up to this point, it's free. What you also may want to do is have an early adopter program where it's just one or two, where you know that if it's universities, for example, I'm going to give it all away to Berkeley, and I know that I'm going to go charge Stanford. And so you can really sort of box in where you won't have revenue. I would also explicitly ask for things that should actually be more valuable for you than revenue, but things that can allow you to generate revenue, case studies, promotion, other things that they can go do in their network. I know universities, from a buying perspective, all talk to each other. There are a lot of consortiums that help them buy technology and think about that. And so they can walk you in to a lot of other sales that may be far more valuable than just the revenue from them.
Okay, thank you.
I think one other thing I'll add that Molly, you said in your presentation was just revisiting, right? So like having the milestones of like, okay, maybe you start in a free engagement, but then at 3 months, it makes sense to start charging, or at 6 months, whatever it is. But like having agreed upon checkpoints along the way with the partners to make sure that you guys are revisiting, is this making sense? How? And then, yeah, as you grow and as you're able to show your value, you're in a better negotiation point.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
We want to answer Artie's question.
Yes.
So Artie asked about how can we form strategic partnerships that build credibility and generate traction prior to launch, especially when we don't have customers. You don't have to have customers, that's fine. When just going back to my Coda days, one challenge I did face when we were trying to build partnerships is we were in stealth. We were legitimately not telling people the name of our company. That was a non-starter for people. So do not be in stealth. But you can say, hey, we're launching this. Make sure it would be of value to their partner ecosystem. They'll probably gladly take you. I can't think off the top of my head of a company that would gate out a partner that doesn't have customers. They may also not ask you how many customers they have. And I would just think about it as an opportunity to sort of grow and show them. If you start out there with no customers and then you grow over time, report back to them. This is something at Checkr that, we've grown enormously in about 11 years. And we had some partners that we met 7 years ago. They think we are small, and we come back and we say, no, this is actually who we are. And they're shocked, and it motivates them to do more. So keep your partners up to date on your growth. To that end, too, some companies are looking for investment opportunities. They're looking for M&A opportunities as well. Pitch yourself a little bit. They could be great investors. They could be early investors. They could, generally acquire you. Some of these companies, when they invest in you, they're basically fast tracking you into their ecosystem. They're going to start featuring you everywhere. Your success is their success. So there's a lot of opportunity when you're small.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi, Roger. Please jump in.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Hi, Molly. Hi, Anna. Good to see some Fox alumni
Yeah.
on this call.
Big reveal.
One of my questions for you, Molly, is in the startup context, what are the conversations and what are the line of questions that you are asking to your internal stakeholders to try to figure out what is the open space, what is the white space to have opportunities for partnerships to really lever up and accelerate motions? You mentioned like whether it's product customer acquisition, maybe it's leads, maybe it's connectivity. Like how are you doing your internal sourcing to form a relatively objective opinion about, hey, what are the most impactful opportunities, especially if you're starting off.
So if I'm trying to build my internal partner thesis,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I think it should change over time. There are times to acquire new customers, move into a different segment, move up market. That partners can be super valuable. And sort of test desire. I love talking to CSMs. Every time I started, I want to hear what customers are saying. What are their pain points? What are they asking for? The person who runs customer programs at Checkr every year comes to me and says, hey, we're doing our NPS and customer survey. And I'm like, same fucking question. What do you want to see? What do you use? What do you want to see? And that's really from a product perspective. Alarmingly, you will sometimes get two answers from customers. They will ask you for integrations you already have. That shows you have a problem too. It's a education gap within your own base. And team talking about those partnerships, you shouldn't have hidden partnerships. But that can really identify it for you. Again, I look at what my competitors are doing. If I can see that, everyone's flocking somewhere, I want to ask why and sort of think about it. May not be the right thing, but I want to be aware of it too.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Roger. Go back. I had a question, Molly, around benchmarking. Like, you mentioned winning and losing and not getting stuck in sort of in a bad deal. Are there any numbers, or I know there's so many different sort of scenarios, and so it probably is hard, or even maybe just any guidance on like how our founders can look for the right benchmarks, maybe buckets of benchmarks that you might identify that folks should go research or anything like that.
Yeah. I think it depends if you're PLG or SLG a little bit. I want to look at, and I want to diagnose like what's working, what's not. If I'm getting 0 signups, if I'm getting 0 traffic from a partner, something's wrong with where I'm placed in their product, how I'm positioned. I want to look and see if there's somewhere else that they're sending people, if there's an opportunity for in-product education or for the humans at that partner to educate their customers or prospects and drive them towards me. I want to test on that, and pretty quickly you'll see that. So I think it's like diagnosing through the funnel. If I see a ton of leads that don't lead to signups, what's happening? If I see signups that don't activate, something else. If I see people that sign up, use it once, and then churn, have I overpromised and underdelivered? Is there a gap? Reach out to people, ask them questions. You are all founders. I think that one of the things that the trap I still get caught in is if somebody emails me and says, I'm the CEO of this company, I'm like, oh, I want to answer. It's like, yeah, I'm the CEO of Molly Rose. It's not that hard, to have that title. People will answer you though. Hey, what could we do better? What would you like to see? Sometimes it's a 5-minute call. Sometimes it's just, over email. Figure out what's happening. It could be you. It could be the partner. You can also find times where the partner doesn't understand your technology. And if they're sort of mismessaging it, you don't have aligned expectations for the customer too. So I would look at that. And then I think there are easy benchmarks too. So closed deals, revenue. I would also look at, if you're in the SLG motion, time to close. And I would benchmark against your own sales cycle. So if they're, at Checkr, I'm really proud some of our deals from our partners close faster than ones that we source ourselves. So that's when stuff is working really well. If it's harder to close a partner deal, start thinking about the ROI there, or think about ways that you can hack that sales cycle to make it faster.
Yeah. And just to build off of that, and I know there's another question, but for revenue share benchmarking in different scenarios, are there like buckets that you would, again, just maybe even point our founders to, like if you're trying to figure out if the split of how you are, and I know you mentioned like talking and going out and asking people, well, what deal did you get? But aside from talking, are there any benchmarks that you'd flag or that you regularly like check or have used?
Yeah, I think, I hate to say it, sometimes you need to spend money to make money. And if you're giving a lot to a partner, the hope is that you're putting so much in that they're going to be driving to you too. The flip side of that is if they're not if you say you're going to give them 50% rev share, if they don't send you a single customer, it should cost you $0. So I wouldn't be up at night worried about a generous agreement that nobody's cashing in on. If you start seeing it go really, really well, I would start asking the partner actually for more go-to-market investment. If you can drive all your sales out of the partner, it might be cheaper than having an entire sales force and a marketing team. There will also be a point, and I think if you're super early, you don't need to worry about it just yet, where you may want to actually go to the partner and say, hey, like this is no longer financially working for us. That is where you might want to have a BD person or somebody with BD-like skills to help you. It could also be a VP of sales as well. It could be a good lawyer, somebody to help you renegotiate that contract. I have had many partnerships where we've renegotiated as, both sides of the businesses have changed quite a bit.
Awesome. Shruti, we see your question here. Do you want to ask it out loud, or I'm also happy to read it. I think it's a really good question about dealing with transitions where you're building a relationship with a partner and then people leave, or there's changes in leadership dynamics. So best practice to ensure that they aren't just talking to a single person. So multi-threading these relationships. Any advice that you have there? Great question, Shruti.
Yeah, you are not alone. It's not something you've done wrong. It happens. Yeah, I think early on when there's excitement and momentum from the partner, trying to get connected into as many people as possible. Again, I leverage customers and say, hey, do you know a product person? LinkedIn, your VC network, your other founders who may know people there, even if they are not directly related to partnerships, can be super helpful. You should hopefully have more there. If you have the gift of being geographically close to the partner as well, I would go into the office. I would meet people. I would also look at who is investing in your partner. Do you share any investors in common? Is there anyone you know? An exercise that I do frequently at Checkr that I wish I had known about earlier in my career is I look at our board of directors. I look at where they're connected. I look at where my existing partners and my prospective partners have connections with them. And I will ask for touch. Sometimes that touch is just to say, hey, we're a Checkr investor. We're really excited about you. There's no ask, but it's just to start creating that multi-threading relationship. I would also get people together to share best practices. There's probably insight that you have that could be valuable to them too. So connecting with their, head of customer success or product or someone like that can give you a relationship and also drive mutual value.
Such a good question. I love how all the different pieces that remind me of sales. So like having to do a really thorough discovery and asking those hard questions, which I think people, everybody struggles with, but asking clear, pointed questions that get to the heart of what's in it for you, right? Like what is the bottom line value for you? That's definitely something that we want our founders to be doing in sales calls. And so it's a different type of sale, but essentially a sale, right? Like
sale, and those partners can be bringing in so much revenue that you may want to take a step back and say, how much revenue is associated with this partner? Is that partner technically my biggest customer? And then ask yourself how you're treating them, how you're touching them frequently, how you're doing everything to protect that relationship. That can really help you over time. And just like, back to the rev share question, sometimes your biggest customer, your first customer, has a really nice discount or deal. Sometimes the rev share makes sense on an early partner who's really helping you get to that next stage of growth.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're almost at time. I have one final question for Molly that we ask all of our guests, but want to just check to see if anyone has a burning question that they want to ask. Otherwise, I think I have another ahead of my final question, but want to give a chance to those in the room. Anyone have a burning question? One question that I loved that we got ahead of time in the registration when people were registering was if there's anything about partnerships, the partnership world that you could change, given your many years of experience, Molly, in the space. What would it be? And I think I'm curious to hear, because again, it's just like a way for our founders to be aware of the dynamics in partnership engagement. And so curious to hear your thoughts on like where partnerships get sticky or something that you hate about the way partnerships are, unfurl, but it's like, it is just a reality of the world. Like anything that you could share or shed light on there.
Yeah, I'll share a reality that has not changed in the last 12 years that I've been in partnerships. Call it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's a fact. In-person contact really changes things.
Mm.
Meeting someone in person means they're going to email you back, means that they can understand the nuance of your tone in an email, means that you've established some rapport with them and you've made that human connection, and they're going to be more bought in. And, during COVID and in a post-COVID world, I got really comfortable, sitting at home in my yoga pants every day. And it was a tough reality to be like, oh no, I gotta go back out and meet people again. You do not have to be a drinker, but taking people out for drinks, coffee, whatever you want to call it, building that human connection is a constant in partnerships and really will make a difference. Making small talk on, you're getting onto the phone, take the 5 minutes, don't waste the call, but make that human connection, get to know them. And that'll really pay dividends for you. And that's been a constant throughout my entire career. And, if you're not great at that, practice it. Find people who can help you think about ways that you can sort of break the ice with people and humanize everybody.
I love that. Totally applies. I think all of GTM, right, is just remembering there are real people receiving your cold outbound, real people on the other end, like humanizing the whole thing. So I couldn't agree more. Okay, the final question, Molly, that we ask all of our Winning Wednesday guests is building is hard. And it takes, you're getting a lot of no's and rejection along the way, right? Things aren't working. Again, I mentioned like founders needing to do a lot of experiments, running into a lot of dead ends, and they need to stay motivated to keep going and to endure and push through. What's your best advice for getting through those uncomfortable moments and staying resilient in the face of so many obstacles?
Every no is a learning opportunity. What can you do different next time? I think that's just generally a principle for life. I also think really early on, your company is your entire life. It feels so, the gravitational pull is so strong and heavy. Have a sense of humor, like be able to laugh at yourself. I say to my team, if we are knee deep in shit, do not complain about how dirty your clothes are getting. Laugh and flick it at somebody else because, we're all in it and we should be having fun with it and, enjoy these moments where you're learning and testing. And, you'll look back on it fondly and it's not life or death. It's business.
Enjoy the journey. I love that. Also reminds me of one of my favorite books, The Obstacle's the Way. I think it's absolutely true. It's like enjoying that the no's are getting you closer to the yes and seeing them as that win.
Yeah. As a new mom, watching a lot of Dr. Becky, right? If you're uncomfortable, it's because you're learning. So, celebrate that you're learning.
Yeah, I love that. Well, actionable things to go out and try and hope many partnerships come from this, folks. Congrats to everyone on the call who made the time to learn more about partnerships. Hope you feel an inch closer, if not much closer, to winning today. Great to see everyone. Hope to see you on the next episode.